Right guys, so today we're going to do a little bit of sketching. So what I want you to do is get an A4 sheet of paper or just your jotter or anything and put it in half, or use 2 pages of your jotter like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do write on one side 2D sketching, and on the other side we're going to put 3D sketching. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our skills in 2D sketching and hopefully make them 3D. So I'm going to show you how, okay? So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a pencil. I've just got a normal one. Hopefully sharp enough that you've got a good point. And first we're going to do our 2D sketching. So what I want you to do is I want you to sketch a rectangle, a triangle and a circle. Okay, so in your 2D sketching, you should all know how to do this. You should all be pros at it. Just going to draw a normal square, rectangle, square, either or. Okay, slightly squint square by me, but doesn't matter. That's another thing about this. We don't want to be using any rulers. We want this all to be freehand. Sketching is always meant to be messy, okay? It's meant to be a quick little process to visualise your ideas. It's not meant to be perfect. And then I'm going to draw a circle down here. So we've got our 3 shapes, okay? So, do you notice on how when we're doing a 2D sketch, we just see the front of an object? So, if you were drawing a house, you would draw a square with a triangle on top. But you wouldn't actually see the sides of the house or the sides of the roof. You would only ever just see the front of the house. Does that make sense? So if I draw a little house here, using our square and our triangle, you can only see the front of the house. You can't see the sides, you can't see the back garden, you can't see anything. You can only see the front visual of that house. Okay, so what we want to do today is we want to draw something where we can see the sides. So we're going to draw a little house and see if we can see the sides. So we're going to start with our rectangle, then we'll move on to our triangle, and then we'll put the 2 together. And if you're feeling really confident, you can try the circle as well, okay? So we're going to draw our square. And notice how when I'm holding my pencil, it's quite far back. So I'm holding it quite far back so that I've got freedom in movement. And I'm moving my whole arm, not just my wrist, so that I have more freedom on what I'm doing, okay? So you want big strokes, and then it just slightly touches the paper. You don't want it to be too dark when you're sketching, okay? You also are better to move your paper than move your arm, okay? You always want this rhythm of moving back and forth. So I'm just going to draw a line down the bottom, turn my paper, draw a line down the side, then draw another line down the side. So this shape is more like a rectangle, okay? So you see how I've got straighter lines in this than I did in my 2D sketch, because I've just done that motion of going left to right and slowly doing your lines over. Nice light lines as well. So what we're going to do to make it 3D is we're going to add some volume to this rectangle. So to do that, we need to focus on the 3 points here. So the top left hand corner, the top right hand corner and the bottom right hand corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to colour these corners in red so you can see them. And we're going to take 3 lines back from these red markers, okay? Now, this type of sketching is called oblique. I'll write it up here for you. And when we draw in an oblique style, we need to take these lines back at 45 degrees. So for reference, 45 degrees is this. So if we were drawing with using a set square, this is called a set square, you would line it up to your red marker and take a line up. So that's how sharp the line has to be. But we're sketching, so we're not going to use a set square. We're going to draw it freehand. So obviously we won't be able to know exactly if it's 45 degrees, but that doesn't matter, it just needs to be rough. So I'm going to draw my first corner. Notice how I'm still holding the pencil quite far back and I'm still doing this rhythm of moving my arm left to right. Okay, so all these three lines are all very similar. They're all at 45 degrees or as close as I could get them, and they're all quite straight. So that's us taking our lines back. But now we need to decide how much volume we want our shape to have. So how big do we want our box to be? Do we want it to be a little skinny box or do we want it to be a big fat box? So that's completely up to you, okay? So to decide this, we need to draw two lines. We need to draw this line here and we need to draw this line here. I'll do these in green for you so you can see them. So we're taking back this line and we're taking back this line. Okay, they're the ones we're paying attention to. So what we're going to do is I want like a medium-sized box. So I'm just going to copy this exact line about here. See what I did there? So I'm just taking this exact line and I'm putting it a bit further back so I'll have this as my thickness, okay? This area here is my thickness of my box. And then I'm going to do the same, except to be able to make it a box, I need to start where this top line stops, this point here, to make sure it all lines up, okay? So I'm going to take my line from there. I'm going to draw. So do you see how that's making a box shape? So you've got your front face, you've got your side face, and then you've got your top face, okay? So that's gone from a 2D rectangle or square to a 3D, okay? So you've added volume, you've shown that it exists, it looks like something that you could hold in your hand, okay? So we're going to do the same for a triangle. So the first step that we do is we draw our face. Notice how your paper will have to move a bit more often when you're doing a triangle. Okay, and then our 2 points that we need to draw back from are this top point here and this bottom right point here. Okay, we're going to do the same. We're going to draw back 45 degrees. Okay. And then we need to draw this line to make it our volume. See that green line? So I want this triangle to look a bit more fat, so I'm going to draw it here. So do you see how that's now 3D? Yeah? To draw a circle, you draw your circle face. But because there's no points like these ones, it's hard to know where to stop and to start. Okay, so your best bet is to concentrate on the top edge and just draw your 45 degrees over it. And then just concentrate on the bottom edge, draw your 45 degrees. Okay, that's quite difficult to get it completely right, but you just want to draw it coming back from the top and the bottom of your front face of your circle, okay? So it's less of a point and more of like a line, I suppose, where you start. Those 2 red markers. And then from the point that your line hits the circle, this point here, and the point that it stops, that is the line that you need to replicate to show your volume, to show how thick the cylindrical shape is. Okay, so I'm trying to replicate that shape down here. Okay, so do you see how this is now a cylinder? Because you've taken it back and then you've closed it off to create this volume. That one's a hard one, so if you don't get that completely right, that's completely fine. It just takes a bit of practice. So now what we're going to do is attempt our little house. So what we need to do first is, I'm going to turn my bit of paper around, do the other side. So I'll start on a new bit of paper actually. Draw house 3D sketch. So I'm going to start with my rectangle and my triangle. So we'll draw them both together. Then I'll draw my triangle up. Okay, so you've got your rectangle and then your triangle. And then, because it's one shape, I just need to focus on the points that don't have anything coming from them. So the rectangle before, we usually would have taken it from this top left hand corner, but because the triangle's on top of it, we don't need to take it from that corner, we just need to take it from the top of the triangle. So I'll draw my wee red points for you. That's a little bit confusing to understand, but once we draw our lines back, it'll make sense. Oops. So I'm going to draw this line back 45 degrees, this line back 45 degrees, and then this line back 45 degrees. And then the two lines that we're replicating is this line here, see it in the green, and this line here. Okay. And then we're going to make it a thick-ish house. And then carry it down. Okay, so do you see how that's looking a bit more like a house now? It looks a wee bit more like a shed than a house, but you get the gist. Okay, so your task for this week is to take a bit of paper, do your 3 2D sketches, then your 3 3D sketches, trying out the oblique style of sketching like I've just shown you. You might need to watch this video when you're doing it, just so that you know what you're doing. You can make these little markers, if that helps you to understand. You can make these when you're drawing it. And then I want you to attempt to put the square and the rectangle and the triangle together, and then take that back so that you can make a little house. Okay? If you want to decorate your house, go ahead. But that is what I want from you this week. Okay?